I am moving to Japan in a few weeks with my 3 cats, so I just wanted to share a little bit about what that looks like. So I will be talking about 3 different things. I'll be talking about documentation, timeline, and transportation. So for documentation, other countries are going to be more strict or more lenient depending on their rules and regulations. So for the purposes of this video, I'll be talking about bringing pets from America to Japan because that's where I'll be going. So the documentation that you need for Japan is you need the microchip, and for the microchip, you need the date that it was administered to your pet. You also need rabies vaccinations. You need to make sure that your pet is up to date on all their rabies vaccinations. They have to have at least 2 within the time frame of filling out the paperwork and going through the process of getting them there. You also need, for cats specifically, you need a titer blood test, which is basically a blood test to make sure that their rabies vaccination is effective and it is working. Because I know in Japan, they don't have rabies over there. It just doesn't exist. And so they want to make sure that any pets that are going over there don't have rabies because they don't want to introduce it into their country. Next, you need a notice of entry into the country. So Japan has a 40-day notice. So you have to notify the country 40 days before the intended arrival date of the animal so that they know when to, I guess, expect the animal to go into the country so that they can go ahead and get their quarantine service at the airport to make sure that the whole process of going through the paperwork and everything can, happen. The last thing that you'll need is a health certificate, and the earliest that you can do your health certificate for some countries, including Japan, is 10 days before. So if I am leaving on January 1st, the earliest that I can do my health certificate is December 21st, 22nd, whatever day that is. I don't know, but you get the point. So yeah, that's the documentation that you'll need. Next is the timeline of events. So the first thing that you'll need is the microchip. You'll have to have the microchip administered no later than 180 days before the intended arrival date into the country, specifically Japan. Other countries might be similar, other countries might be different. I don't know. But for Japan, that microchip has to be administered at least 180 days before the intended arrival date. You also need to make sure that your pet has had 2 rabies vaccinations before that 180-day mark as well. So what we did is we needed to give one of our cats a microchip, and so our vet told us that we were able to administer the microchip and our first rabies shot at the same time. So we were able to do that. So that is an option, is doing the microchip and the rabies shot at the same time. But you have to have 2 rabies vaccinations before that 180-day period, because on that 180-day period is the waiting period for the titer blood test. And so the reason that the titer blood test needs to wait 180 days is they need to make sure that, again, the rabies vaccinations are working and that your pet doesn't have rabies so that they will be allowed into the country. So for the rabies shots, you can have a rabies shot that is administered more than 180 days before the titer blood test, as long as the validity period of that rabies test goes through the arrival date. So if like one of our pets, they have a 3-year rabies vaccination, and that 3 years rabies vaccination, the validity period of that goes past their arrival date. So that rabies shot is valid. That counts as one of the rabies vaccinations before that blood test. So you don't have to get 2 rabies shots just for that. You can use rabies vaccinations that they've had before you start the process. Okay, once you have gotten the microchip and the rabies vaccinations, and you have taken them to the vet to get their blood taken for that titer test, then you wait 180 days. And then 40 days before the arrival date is when you notify the country, notify Japan, that you will be arriving. And then 10 days before the intended arrival date, you go to your vet and you get your health certificate. And it's basically just like a regular checkup, and your vet will give you a nice sheet of paper so that you can show the animal services, their, I guess, like version of animal control, and their animal quarantine service, that health certificate, to let everybody know that they're all good to go once they get there. The last thing that I'll be talking about is flights or transportation to Japan. So there are 3 ways that you can go about doing it. You can have your pet in the cabin with you, but make sure that you have a person per animal, because your animal will be counted as your carry-on or personal item. So make sure that you have enough tickets for the amount of animals that you have. We decided not to do that because there's only 2 of us, but we have 3 cats. And we didn't really want to go through the hassle of going through security with them and managing all of that between the 2 of us. The second way that you can do it is you can put your pet in the cargo section of the plane for traveling. But another thing that you might want to look out for is some airplanes are not fit for pets to go in the cargo hold. And so that might end up changing your flight date. And so if your plans are a little bit more strict, you might not want to do that option. And I know some airlines don't even allow pets in the cabin at all sometimes. So look out for those 2 things. They could be tricky. The third option that you can do is to use a professional pet moving service, which is what we ended up doing. It does cost a little bit more. It's a few $1,000s depending on the amount of pets you have and the destination. But it makes everything a lot easier and a lot simpler on our end, because really all that we have to do is take them to the vet to make sure that they get all of the rabies vaccinations, the microchip, and the titer test. And then we send all of their information on all of those things to the moving service, and they book the flights. They do the entry notice, the 40-day notice of entry into the country, and they also take them through the airport, and they take them through customs when they arrive in Japan. So that has honestly been such an amazing idea for us, because we do have so much going on, that it's going to make our lives 1,000 times easier when we get there. Honestly, it's easier than we thought that it was going to be, because we haven't even really been in communication with our vet or the moving service people that much, because they have been in contact with each other. It's been really nice because if our vet has questions for the moving company, we're not the messengers. They've just been communicating directly. And so it's been really easy and really simple, because there's a lot of paperwork involved, and we were not ready for that. We just don't have the mental energy to deal with that with everything else going on. So it really has been a saving grace for us. I will put several links in the description to give you a head start if you are interested in moving your pets to Japan or any other country. The links that I'll provide are helpful for everybody who's interested. So the first link that I'll put is requirements for the United States, what they require for pets going through airport security and leaving the country. I'll also put a link for other countries' requirements for importing animals. So whatever country you are going to, what their requirements are for animals or for your pets. I'll also put a link for you to be able to find a veterinarian that is certified to help you do all of the paperwork that you need for international travel, because we went to several different vets and we thought that we were going to be able to just do the paperwork, and we had scheduled several different appointments, and when they called to confirm the appointment, I told them what we needed and they told us that they could not provide that. So I searched for probably a month trying to find a vet, but I found a website that I love and I'll put that in the description for you. The last link that I'll put in the description is for finding a professional pet moving service. There are a ton of them out there, and there are a lot based in a lot of big cities. So it's really easy. You can just put in the airport that you live near and you can find a pet moving service that's local to your area. And so they are going to be more familiar with your airport and more familiar with your area, because I do know that some moving services will actually pick up your pet from your house. Instead of you taking your pet to the airport, they will come directly to your house, get your pet, do all of the travel, and then also deliver them to wherever you're staying in the arrival country. So that's really cool. Yeah, so thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I hope this was helpful. And don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the notification bell so that you know when I post. And thank you for watching.